It's Monday, September 25th, and time for your Barbados Today morning update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Frenella Wedderburn. Finance Minister Chris Sinclair accuses the opposition Barbados Labour Party of mounting a smear campaign against him and a fellow cabinet member. The MP for St. Michael Northwest made the comments over the weekend as he made reference to what he described as fake news making the rounds on social media. And he's told party faithfuls at the city meeting to expect these unusual tactics as the general election draws near.
They have certain people that they have identified that they feel stand in the way of them getting government. I am one of them. So they have started this campaign against me and Michael latterly. So there is a campaign called Get Chris. There's a Get Chris campaign. I'm telling you now. No, it's not a joke. It's very serious. And they intend to put out a lot of fake news, nasty, lying information, starting in other places outside of Barbados and migrating into the mainstream social media usage in Barbados. You would have seen some of it too. So you know exactly what I am talking about. Trying their best to link me and other members of the Democratic Labour Party to criminal activities and so forth and so on. This is the level to which the Barbados Labour Party is stupid. And I am saying Barbados Labour Party because I am convinced, and nobody can tell me otherwise unless the evidence is produced, that they are the people who are the architects behind it.
Speaking at another forum over the weekend, Sinclair raised concerns about a shortage of customs officers. He said within the last 2 years, about 30 officers retired from service at the island's ports of entry, and it has not been easy filling those posts.
Following requests for the control of customs over the last 18 months or so, 18 months, the civil service through the Ministry of Finance, through the Ministry of Finance. Last year, the department received permission to fill 15 posts and made in fact filling those positions. However, between 2015 and 2017, I'm advised that close to 30 officers were carried from the service. And as you can see, therefore, we have an immediate deficit and we are behind the curve. And that needs to be addressed. And of course, many of those persons, having not themselves worked in customs before, will have to now come in and train. So if you lose 5 officers at the cargo examination facility before, you're not going to be able to pick up 5 people and move them down there or bring them in and put them there. It means you will have to find 5 people from somewhere else, which means there will be a shortage.
That was Finance Minister Chris Sinclair speaking at the Customs Brokers Annual General Meeting. In other news, a second group of evacuees from Dominica are due back home this morning. The Barbados Defense Force says 47 people are on board the HMBS Rudyard Lewis, which docked at the Coast Guard base a short while ago. Troops from the BDF and the Regional Security System were deployed to Dominica last week to assist in relief efforts following the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. RSS Executive Director Captain Errington Sherland says he expects the humanitarian mission to Roseau to be a lengthy one given the extent of the devastation.
I think it will take a long time to rebuild. In terms of the deployment, I quite frankly don't see this deployment closing off within 3 to 4 months because you need to get the citizenry of Dominica back to a state where they can start to rebuild on their own. I think certainly what I've observed by the resilience of the people on the street, I would say 3 to 4 months.
Meanwhile, BDF Chief of Staff Colonel Glenn Granham acknowledged that his troops will be stretched in the coming months, but he says they are prepared for the task at hand.
That strain is going to be inevitable. Fortunately, and I can speak with confidence from the Barbados Defense Force perspective and also from the perspective of the regional security system, we train very hard, and whilst the dimensions of the problem, the devastation presented of by Hurricane Maria have been unimaginable. The training mentally certainly is a tremendous asset in terms of being able to sustain an operation such as this. So we are going to be stretched, we are going to need ourselves reinforcement, but the training and the preparation that would have been ever so present or has been ever so present in the forces, in the regional security system, is certainly something that we have.
Meanwhile, a number of fire officers are among a cadre of emergency personnel from Barbados currently in Dominica and Tortola, helping with hurricane recovery efforts. And Chief Fire Officer Errol Maynard said while the situations in those countries were not ideal, his officers are safe.
We have 7 officers who would have been deployed to Dominica, and we communicate on a regular basis, and they are all safe. They're working alongside some members of the Dominican Fire and Rescue Service to conduct fire search and rescue operations and some relief operations. We have 3 officers in Tortola who are assisting the Tortolan Fire Department in their regular duties. Their fire services have been destroyed. They have lost the buildings and the vehicles, and they are helping with medical care and some firefighting duties.
What are they saying about what the conditions are like down there?
Well, it's naturally the conditions are not ideal. There are some officers who are staying at in Dominica. There is a financial center in Dominica, and in Tortola, a building was prepared for them in which they are using cots to rest on, but they're comfortable.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Good morning, Phillips & Company, may I help? Oh, certainly. One moment, please. Miss Phillips?
Yeah?
There's a lady on the line from the Nation newspaper who would like to speak with you.
The Nation? Will she go on?
Well, they're trying to sell us some ads.
Look, don't make me laugh this morning. Ads in the Nation? They're real expensive, and for what here, nobody ain't buying them papers no more. Nobody want to steal news. I hear reading Barbados Today online for free. So I tell she thanks for calling, but no thanks. We just advertising Barbados Today, families. Tell she is Barbados Today all the way.
Okay, I'll pass on the message. Mom, are you still there? Oh, she put down.
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Eden is broken. That's how Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit described his hurricane-ravaged country to the international community over the weekend. Using the United Nations platform, he painted a grim picture of how his country suffered at the hands of a Category 5 Hurricane Maria, and he said the island was bearing the brunt of climate change.
Dominicans, Mr. President, have been responsible members of the global community. We have co-joined all of the major international battles, from the abolition of forced labor to the protection of patents. Yet today, 72,000 Dominicans lie on the front line in a war they did not choose, with extensive casualties from a war that they did not start. The time has come for the international community to make a stand and to decide whether it will be shoulder to shoulder with those suffering the ravages of climate change worldwide, whether we can mitigate the consequences of unprecedented increases in sea temperatures and levels, whether to help us rebuild sustainable livelihoods, or whether the international community will merely show some pity now and then flee, relieved to know that this time it was not you.
And finally, Venezuela is on a new list of countries affected by the United States' controversial travel ban. According to reports, fresh on the list are also Chad and North Korea, as the Trump administration unveiled new travel restrictions to 6 foreign countries. The new restrictions on travel vary by country and include a phasing approach. More in this CNN report.
The Trump administration unveiling new travel restrictions on certain foreign nationals from 8 countries. The list is Chad, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen. And this will be a replacement to a central portion of that controversial travel ban, which actually expired earlier today, in which you remember the president signed the first week in office. It had several stops and starts along the way with federal courts blocking it. But these new restrictions now coming into play, they vary by country and they include a phased-in approach. So most of the new limitations you will see will not go into effect until mid-next month, October 18th.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good morning.